I am ready. Yep.
Folks, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. I'm Mark Volunteer. You don't know me, I'm one of your trustees. Kevin Justice in the back. Next to him is the physical officer, Cindy. So, but the idea of this get together, the community education is to educate you guys on the limitations of town experience. And with the rapid growth that we've experienced over the last, that we've seen over the last 12, 18 months, and we felt that it was important to engage Crossroads Community Planning, which is Holly Maddy and Molly Red. I would say Molly Red's in my head all day. So, but Holly's going to take us through the presentation and to educate you guys on some of the options we're seeing what's happening in the township, and you know, it's kind of like a whole questions for the end. If she got some time to go into that question, but and then how we form the committee for this and all that good stuff. So Holly,
yep, that is good. Thank you so much. And I'm going to stand here so that I can run the computer and hopefully everybody can hear. We are also recording this. I'm recording it via Zoom, and then if it turns out good, we will put that recording on the website. If it does not turn out well, then I will do a voiceover of the slides and they can post that to the website. Molly is also writing down all of the questions that are asked, and then we'll answer those questions and post that to the website too, if the recording for some reason doesn't.
That's the website within the last 6 months. So we're trying to populate.
Great, no worries. So we are going to start off here with talking about what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to start off with what is a comprehensive plan. Not everybody may understand what it is. So we want to at least start with the basics so that everybody's on the same playing field as we move forward with this. Then we're going to review a SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is an exercise that I took the steering committee through to help us as consultants understand what the community thinks are those strengths and weaknesses and the threats to the community as well. Then we're going to talk about why we plan. What is the purpose of it? Why are we even doing this? What forces are affecting the township? And then we're going to talk about economic development tools. Now that can be a scary thing to think about, especially because I know that most people in this township do want to preserve the rural character of the community, want to keep it as rural as we can. But actually some of these tools may be able to help do that as long as we use them in key locations. So I want to at least familiarize you with what they are, what they can do. And we don't have to use all of them. We don't have to use any of them. But I think there's benefit if we can find places to utilize them to help achieve the goals of the township. So what is a comprehensive plan? A comprehensive plan is a document that identifies a community vision and serves as a roadmap to guide community growth and change. It provides goals, action steps, and recommendations to achieve the shared vision. When we get done with the comprehensive plan, at the end of the document, there'll be what's referred to as an implementation matrix. It will identify every recommendation or strategy that's in the plan. It will talk about who should be the implementing partners, whether it's just the township trustees or if it's somebody else within the township, such as the zoning inspector or the fiscal officer, or if it's an external partner that needs to be involved. So maybe another community, or maybe a water or sewer district, whatever those partners may be, would be identified with each strategy recommendation, as well as a time frame for implementing the recommendation. A comp plan should answer basic questions such as, what kind of aesthetics does the community want? What kind of development should occur in the community? Where and what should it look like? How should a community balance land uses, for example, residential and agricultural uses versus commercial? Does the community need to update roads? Do they need multi-use paths or bike paths? Does the community need to update its facilities, or does it need to provide any kind of recreational opportunities? What kind of infrastructure is needed to help move the community forward over the next 20 years? It is a living document that is updated regularly and is adapted over time to the changing realities within the community. Change is a constant, and it requires communities to continually adapt their plans and strategies while ensuring the long-term vision is reflected within those strategies. It needs to be updated on a regular basis. A full overhaul should happen every 15 to 20 years. Your last comprehensive plan was done in 2004. So we are due to do this full rewrite of the comprehensive plan, a full overhaul of it. Not only are you due for it, but with everything that is going on in Central Ohio, it is a prime time for you to update your plan. Most communities are looking at their plans. Even if they adopted them 1 to 5 years ago, they're looking at their plans today because so much has changed and things continue to change on a daily basis in Central Ohio. So how do we put this plan together? We do it through exercises. We start with the steering committee. So that is a small group that the township identifies key stakeholders to help sit on that committee and provide guidance to us as a result. I'm going to ask those who sit on the steering committee that are here tonight to raise their hand, say their name, and say, you know, if they're a resident, most of them are residents, but if there's some other position that makes them key to the stakeholder committee, whether they're on the zoning commission or they do something else within the township. So if you could raise your hand and say your name.
West Office President.
Keith Barney, resident.
Ward Department. Probably a few months ago.
A few months ago, yeah, a couple months ago.
And how? We just surveyed.
Yeah.
And we just like people to get what you have to go through.
Yeah. Yep. And so in addition to the steering committee, there's public input through this process. This is the first of the public meetings. Tonight is more of an educational presentation, but there will be additional public input opportunities to help guide where you think things should or should not happen, as well as providing final recommendations and getting input from the public and the township as a whole when we have those recommendations available, and then we can make revisions based upon that public input. Once the plan is to a point where the committee feels comfortable with it, then it would actually go through a formal adoption process that would end with the township trustees taking action during one of their public meetings. So now we're going to talk about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So on the weakness side and the threat side, the committee felt that annexation is the biggest threat to the community, and more specifically that Sunbury is the biggest threat out of anybody that is surrounding the township. There's also concerns about having multiple state routes through the township, and especially of how people are going to get from the 161 corridor over to 71, knowing that there's going to be some cut-through traffic through this area to get there. So being concerned about that and how to best plan for that. Solar is a concern, as well as an aging population, and making sure that the younger population, as we age and progress, that we are bringing those other younger generations along to understand and move forward with the vision of the township. The committee identified utilities as a weakness. We see utilities often either identified as a weakness, but often more times identified as a threat. In this particular case, the committee identified utilities as a weakness because utilities are often what a developer would need in order to move their project forward. If then they end up reaching out to adjacent municipalities to extend those utilities, and then that's when the annexation becomes concerned. So the township feels like a lack of utilities by a provider outside of a municipality is a weakness to them. Communications is another weakness that they identified, and as you saw Mark, or heard Mark say earlier this evening, that they're trying to improve those communications. They've started with a website. So being able to continue to push out communications through different mechanisms. They also identified a number of strengths and opportunities. The strengths being Big Walnut Creek, what a beautiful natural asset within the township. Existing preservation easements, and then they identified the Frost property as a potential strength of maybe being able to potentially protect some of the areas. Opportunities, creating a game plan. This is the time to help write the story for Trenton Township. And how do we do that? And this is the start of that. Zoning is another opportunity in an area that the township has the ability to control its own destiny. And then there are partnerships and county utilities is a question mark up there. Is that an opportunity to help offset some of the annexations? And partnerships is key to moving forward as we talk about some of the options as we go through this presentation. So you all should have received a card in the mail, which is probably why you're all here. On that card, it invited you to come to this meeting today. And it also included a QR code and a link to an online survey. It also included a phone number to call if you wanted to request a paper copy of the survey. To date, we've received 174 electronic responses. We also received one paper copy. What this summary is only the 174 electronic responses to date. We are leaving the survey open through this presentation and into the coming week so that if you haven't taken the survey, you're able to go and take the survey after you listen to this presentation. The other thing I want to make sure everybody is aware of is that every adult in your home can take the survey. We did ask for your address because we wanted to make sure that those who are responding to the survey actually live in the township. And we weren't having outside respondents reflecting, what they want to see in the township. But even though we asked for your address, there's nothing prohibiting you putting your address in for a second time so that someone else in your household can complete that survey. So if that was a concern of yours, feel free to go and complete that as a second respondent after today's meeting. Out of the 174 respondents, over 60% of them were 55 years or older. 50% have lived in the township for 20+ years, while 23% have lived here for less than 5 years. I think that's important to see that you have your legacy landowners, but you also have new individuals moving into your township because of the growth, and understanding that that's something that's continuing to happen here in Trenton Township. Majority of the respondents work in Columbus or in Trenton Township. I put in parentheses work from home. My guess is that if somebody said that they worked in the township, the majority of them are probably a work from home, but that's my inference, so that's in parentheses. We asked that question so that we understand how people are traveling to and from Trenton Township, and understanding where people are moving in and out throughout the day. Quality of life questions. 92% of the respondents believe the quality of life is either good or excellent in Trenton Township. Approximately 75% of the respondents want to drive to neighboring communities or for groceries or other services. So again, keeping things out of the township and keeping it more of a rural atmosphere. 39% of the residents believe annexation is a threat. 30% need more information. We do understand that annexation can be a complicated conversation or a complicated matter. So as part of this presentation, we'll be talking about what is an annexation and how it works and how it affects the township. Fire and EMS services are ranked as high quality, but approximately 50% of the residents believe that there could be improvements to roads, parks, and multi-use paths. As far as parks and open spaces, most respondents have never visited the Ohio Erie Trail, or they only visit it once a month, even though it traverses through your township. We did ask the question, if residents do visit a park, which park do they visit? The most responses so far have been Heartland Township Park, Sharmar Park, Parks in Galena and Westerville, and Columbus Metro Parks. We asked that question because if we are planning for the future, and if there were to be additional park space in the future, we wanted to know what amenities people were looking for when they visited a park. And by knowing where they go, we can infer what those amenities may be. We also did ask the question though, of if the respondent prefers what they prefer if parks were to be developed. The most respondents have said natural open space with multi-use trails. So not a lot of active recreational type parks, maybe some multi-use trails, but more natural open space. As far as the types of preferred development, we provided a series of pictures of different types of developments and asked residents what types would they prefer if there were development. 29% of the respondents preferred clustered residential. That is more of a residential type development where the houses are clustered on smaller lots on 50% of the land, and then the other 50% is retained as open space. And typically that open space, we try to retain it along the existing roadway so that when you drive down your roadway, the view sheds along the roads are maintained. 22% of the respondents prefer mixed-use buildings. The picture in that particular case reflects what a typical mixed-use building would be, which is your retail on the first floor with residential on the top. 20% prefer senior housing. 17% prefer neighborhood commercial, which are smaller mom and pop cottage type neighborhood commercial uses. Overwhelmingly, 48% of the respondents prefer none of the options, which again means they prefer no development. So we do understand that that is the concern, is that the township residents do not want to see a lot of development within the township. This is a draft vision statement that has been created through the use of working with the steering committee. This is draft because some of the open-ended questions in the survey such as what attracted you to the township or what makes you stay in the township. Those open-ended questions, we will take the keywords that are coming back more frequently to see if they align with this vision statement. If they don't, and there are other words that need to be built into that vision statement, we will use the survey to amend the vision statement. This was just a starting point to help us move in the right direction. The vision statement is extremely important in a community plan or a comprehensive plan because every recommendation, every goal within the plan should be aligning with that vision statement. So it's key that we get that vision statement right. Why plan now and what is affecting the township? So the comprehensive planning process can assist the township in creating a game plan because we are facing unprecedented development pressures and there is threats of annexation within the township. Intel is a big driver in the growth that we are seeing in Central Ohio, but it's not just Intel. We have Google, Amazon, we have Honda on the southern side of Columbus building a large electronic facility. So it is a lot of different driving factors, but we are seeing unprecedented growth in Central Ohio. And like I said, it's not just Trenton Township, but a lot of communities all around trying to plan and try to get ahead of what is coming our way. So this plan will help us decide what areas should be developed, what areas should not, what partnerships should be established. The one thing I do want to point out is that at least you are not like right at the line of Intel. You are a little bit more removed. Not to say that you shouldn't be like planning. I think this is important. We've got to be ready. We need to have a plan. But I do feel like you have a little more breathing room than what some communities do. But you can't just sit back and do nothing because as this next slide is going to show you what you're kind of up against right now. Just within the recent past, 1,000 acres from Trenton Township have been annexed into Sunbury. So this happened rather quickly, and we're going to talk about what annexation is and how it works. There's very little the township can do. There's really nothing the township can do if a type 2 annexation is used. And this is what is happening right now. Literally within the past few months, 1,000 acres has been annexed into Sunbury and will be gone from the township. That means that you lose as a township all control, the design standards, the land uses. It's my understanding that the zoning is actually going through Sunbury right now for that northern portion, and they're looking at industrial for that area along 37. So we need to understand these driving factors so that we can help plan and help potentially slow this down for Trenton Township. So what is annexation? Annexation is a property owner driven process. So a annexation starts with whatever landowners want to be incorporated into the adjacent community. There's actually 5 types of annexation. The 5th one isn't used as often. But there are several types of annexations, and they all start with property owner. The one you have to be most concerned about is the type 2 annexation. It is an expedited process under the Ohio Revised Code. What that means is that every property owner within the area to be annexed signs the petition that to be annexed to the community, then it gets sent to the Board of Commissioners because they are the approving authority, the County Board of Commissioners. It gets sent to them, and if all landowners have signed it, there is nothing that the Board of Commissioners can do to disapprove it. They have to approve it according to the Ohio Revised Code. It has to meet certain technical requirements, but they are things like the survey requirements and those sorts of things. As long as they check all those boxes, and typically they do, then automatically gets annexed. The township has no say in it, the city has no say in it, it just gets done. There's also no appeal process per the Ohio Revised Code. So, we need to understand what causes landowners to want to annex into the community. Most often, it's because a developer has approached them, they want to develop their land. In order to develop their land, they need the proper zoning to do what they want to do, and they need the infrastructure, the water, the sewer. Those two things are the driving forces. So if we're able to address the zoning issue in key locations around areas that are potentially a threat for annexation, and we're able to somehow get infrastructure to them, then that reduces the likelihood of annexation. If annexation continues, it will continue to erode the township's border and reduces the tax bases to the township to provide services. This is a map that we've put together to show kind of potential threats and landowners to be engaged. So the purple area is the land that is either been annexed or in the process of being annexed into Sunbury. The red properties are properties that we consider high threats about potentially being annexed in next. The green parcels are parcels that we believe the township should engage with those property owners. We think the township should reach out to all of those property owners to understand what their thoughts are on future development or on future preservation, or what just their long-term plans are, so the township understands. If we can figure out what those landowners want to do, and we can work with them in a partnership with other communities, there may be ways to potentially reduce annexation and stop the growth going to the east and protect that eastern portion of the township. So these, again, the green areas are areas to engage. Let's talk a little bit about utilities. This map shows the electric transmission lines that have been going through the works with AEP over the last several months. There are two lines that will be built, and they both traverse the southwest portion of Trenton Township. The blue line comes kind of just south of 37, hits 37, and then goes off to a diagonal to the south of the township. And then the green line just cuts across that very southwest corner of Trenton Township. The purple line is the township borders. Additionally, just keep in mind, this is transmission line, so that is basically mostly to serve Intel. This is not distribution to your individual houses. So these would be the high tension transmission lines. The other thing we want to talk about is water and sewer. Water, Delco has a master plan for 2035 that shows how water would be built through Trenton Township through 2035. In talking with Delco, even though that 37 corridor is something that was not originally planned until later on down the road, in their 2035 plan, they have expedited plans along that 37 corridor because of the annexation of Sunbury. They have told me that they will have plans ready in 18 months to get down that 37 corridor to the purple area on the map that I showed you that was being annexed into Sunbury. They said if there are future plans to get down 37 with more development, that they can quickly address and get water there. So just be aware that that is something they have indicated to me that they can service rather quickly, even though it's not wasn't on the radar screen a few years ago. Sewer, right now, there is no sewer that is nothing that's serving the township. There's no county sewer in the area. There's no plans for county sewer in the area. So the only areas that sewer can come from are from Sunbury and Galena. We see that Sunbury is annexing. they're annexing because there's developers need the sewer that want to develop along that 37 corridor and south. Galena also has a lot of sewer capacity. So they have the ability to extend sewers as well. So those are key partners and understanding as we go forward of how they may potentially continue to annex, and how we could potentially partner with them to hopefully reduce the likelihood of annexation in the future. So what are the tools that we can use to help reduce the likelihood of annexation? First of all, zoning. Zoning is something that you really need to focus on in the areas where the communities can annex. Zoning overlay districts are something that are being utilized across Central Ohio right now within townships to try to put the zoning in place that the developers that are going to go to the adjacent communities to get. The way the overlay district works is that the underlying zoning, so if you're zoned residential or agriculture today, your existing zoning would stay if this overlay district were to be put in place. When the overlay district comes into place, it hovers over that existing zoning. The only way that the overlay district applies to that property is if the owner requests to pull down that district. That overlay district typically will have more intense uses and more density than what the existing township zoning would allow, but is more in line with what the neighboring communities could offer through annexation. Once that overlay is pulled down, it's an administrative act, and then that property can develop a development plan approved and develop according to that plan. So this is a tool that has been used to help offer zoning that mimics or at least provides a competitive advantage to maybe neighboring communities through annexation. That can be coupled with a couple of different economic development tools. So if you have an area that could develop in a commercial sense, maybe that 37 corridor to a certain degree, where there would be jobs coming into that and it's zoned with the overlay with a commercial zoning, then you could couple it with a joint economic development district. What that tool does is allows the township to partner with another municipality. It doesn't have to be Sunbury or Galena. It can be another adjacent municipality, and it can be one. There can be one intervening community between you and the municipality that you're partnering with. So you can find a municipality that wants to partner with you. It allows you to collect the income tax off the people working in that JED district. Only the new people that come. Anything existing in there does not pay towards the JED. That revenue can then be spent within the township to help build and maintain infrastructure. And it can be put in your general fund to move forward with things. It does include by law a 3-year non-annexation from whatever community you're partnering with. So if you did partner with one of your adjacent communities, they'd automatically agree to not annex for 3 years. A lot of times I see with JEDs, the communities extending that time frame beyond 3 years. So it can serve as a non-annexation agreement. If you do partner with a community that's not adjacent to you, so isn't necessarily a threat to annexation, it could still act as a barrier to annexation because the income tax that's generated with the JED does not go away if a neighboring community annexes. So it deters property owners from wanting to annex because it would be subject to the JED income tax plus whatever income tax is from the annexing community. So it's basically double taxation. So it deters annexation. So it is a good tool to help with that. Tax increment financing is also another tool that communities have been using to help deter annexation. Counties, municipalities, and townships are able to use TIPs. What a TIP does is it takes the value of the property today, and then when the property is developed, the county auditor assigns an assessed value based on the new development. The increment, the difference between today's value and then the new value at development, that dollar amount gets diverted to a fund that is specific for public improvements within that area. So it helps to pay for any kind of roads, utility work, etc. A township, like I said, can do this, and they can also do a 10-year 75-25% TIF, where 75% is diverted to the infrastructure, 25% still comes to all the different taxing authorities for 10 years. It is something that townships have been putting in place to help deter annexation, because when the township does the TIF, then it prohibits the municipality that wants to annex from doing a TIF. So it deters that annexation from the municipality. Another tool is a new community authority. This is a total separate board that is created for a specific area that's going to be developed. This new community authority can charge a development charge in 3 different ways. The first one is through a property assessment. It's basically just like a property tax. So they can assess an additional 5 mils, 6 mils, whatever they feel is necessary for that development. They can also assess an income tax. So if you do a new community authority, you don't necessarily need the JED. You can do the income tax through the NCA. NCAs also apply to both residential and commercial, but again, it only applies to the new people. It doesn't apply to existing residents. The third way that a new community authority can assess a development charge is through sales tax. So if you had a retail area within this new community authority, you could add an additional 0.25% or whatever percentage to the sales tax, and that money would be brought back into that new community authority. Then there's an agreement that gets made, and the agreement will say so much money goes to the township, so much money goes to public infrastructure, and it's all negotiated of how that all gets divvied out. So it's important that the township be involved in those negotiations if a new community authority were to be utilized. These are all ways to help preserve the tax base of the township residents. It also ways to help deter that annexation from the neighboring community. The last thing that I want to mention as far as tools is a cooperative economic development agreement. This is something where the township could partner with an adjacent community. It does serve as an annexation and a non-annexation agreement. So if the adjacent communities would want to enter into this type of agreement, they could identify areas where the community would annex and areas where they would not annex, and it would be binding by agreement. Oftentimes with CETA, I see land use requirements as well. So a lot of times there'll be one set of standards that both the municipality and the township adopt into their zoning codes. So no matter what jurisdiction the development is in, it will match that corridor. So if it's in the city or if it's in the township, they have the same development standards. Then oftentimes they also create a land use board that is comprised of the municipality and the township giving land use recommendations back to the zoning boards for the respective communities. So it is a way to work cooperatively with your neighboring communities to try to achieve a shared vision if we can get through, identify that shared vision. Ultimately, it comes down to a balancing act. It's balancing the growth and preservation. It's finding which tools work best for your community and identifying the key locations that are going to help preserve the other areas of the township. So ultimately, things are changing here. They're rapidly changing, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. We hear of changes on a daily basis. So we just have to keep our finger on the pulse and just really keep our eyes out for all of the different changes going through Central Ohio, and working with the township closely and working with surrounding entities and water sewer districts to understand what future plans are and making sure that we're making best decisions to protect the township moving forward. So with that, I will open it up for questions and comments. Anybody have a question? Yep.
Can you go back to the spotlight?
This is gonna be available, this presentation, by the way, will be.
So in the strength area, can you define for me what is in Trenton Township? What are the existing preservation easements and what is the broad property? Because I have no clue.
So the Frost property is
It's here, right? Correct?
I believe so. And you know,
Yes.
This is the Frost property. So there were discussions at the steering committee level that there was thoughts that there was some existing preservation easements on there. We, as consultants, have looked for it. We have not been able to find it. Plan to hopefully reach out to the property owners to see if they are aware, if they have long-term easements on it. If they did, that would be helpful to help protect that growth going forward. But I am not aware of any existing easements at this time. That was just what the committee thought might be a possibility. Yes.
I see several areas of the medium urban red area, diagram there. Is anything being done to address those threats currently? And if so,
So these are all areas that we've told the township they need to engage those property owners. And I also know, I don't know if Mark wants to speak, but there are conversations that I think are going on with other.
so regarding the tips up there, that's an active conversation we're doing right now. When you start with the jet, it's a little bit more difficult because we haven't engaged the property owners. You see identified with green, to see what their intentions are. We can't, it's a matter of what you want to do with the property. And if you want to develop it, and you want, because what we don't want is this, how we control it, how do we handle that? So if we can offer some type of service, when I say service, if you look at the arena, it's doubling the size, tripling the size of their sanitary, so they're kind of cross. They want to create, you got a 350 home housing development in their service. Not interested in annexing, they're interested in helping provide service. So maybe if we talk to folks and say, hey, you don't gotta sell out to a developer because we can get you the same thing and, provide the same services. Help, it's a matter of and we're at those stages today. The 10 piece, we're having actively talk to the landowners, it doesn't cost you guys more money, it's just how it's protecting the money to the township and to deter them. So we're aggressively working. The jet is gonna be looking at more.
And I mentioned at the 3 o'clock meeting that anybody that has a piece of land that has a color on it, if you want to come up to us after the meeting, or if you want to star the sheet in the back.
Really see this. This is 37. 605.
Here, I'll show you.
But then.
But if you have property that is with colored on there, get with us or star the sheet back there so that we can get in touch with you. But we would like to have conversations, the township would like to have conversations with you to better understand what the long range plans are for you.
So how about the south end tree for the coming from Louisiana, because they're slowly developers, slowly coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it, you know, they're coming up that way. What do we do on that side?
Well, and that's a good question, because, I do see a lot of development company grabbing land down here. I do know that we have some industrial open right here, so, what ultimately we could think of is just making this a corridor, and then bringing that, the tools down that corridor to help protect the rest of it. Those are conversations we haven't had yet.
That's where I feel like we're sneaking in.
Mhm.
Straight up that.
Yeah. And I think this is like happening right now. So this is the immediate threat. This is something over the next 5+ years, yes, you need to think. And when we do the plan, we'll put timeframes to that stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there stuff like, I don't know, I would.
The study is being done right now.
Kick this off. Later this month in Johnstown. They're taking a look at the study from Route 23.
Yep.
Haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah.
You done.
The study is just getting started.
So while we're talking about different studies, different townships, doing different things, what kind of communication can we start to expect from y'all from the town?
So the website is like 6 months.
Yes, when I moved to there was not.
So, yeah, so the website is out there, we're trying it. And the guy's been in IT a long time. Okay, stuff fresh. So what we do is we just communicate when we want stuff up there. We haven't looked at it. We've had a traffic study on Liberty Road, we've had 65 bolts out there. Some of the roads are township roads, some are county. People don't know that. We're only responsible for the township road. This is perfect. But we are a conduit to the county challenge. So that education's out on that website. And I encourage you to, and if there's something there, fire the note, check it out. There's improvement.
Sure, have you guys thought about like Trenton Township, like community Facebook page or something where we can get instant information, like, hey, there's a meeting tonight at 6:30 versus like a flyer?
That is on the website. TV's are on the website.
Yeah, but someone has to actually check out, this is like logging on to their socials. Something to consider for people that are interested in that. You can see like, if there's a study happening, if there's a township meeting, you can go to.
The job of that is opponent
Right,
error.
yeah.
That's.
They all.
I'm gonna go back here and then up here. So that's it.
I wanted to discuss what you're saying, because quite frankly, I was far away, I understand my mail, like I heard it now. My mail also bill, but I noticed that, I think it's this category was trying to use the category thing.
Mhm.
I think that's a big thing that's probably, I have a feeling a lot of there's a lot of work. But it is the best way. I think actually. But what you're saying is correct, and I have to remember in my day, I better go check to see if there's anything on the website, if I follow an Instagram page or a Facebook page, link to, those get pushed to the after log in, so down. As far as, I mean, I did need to like engage with, that is an active reason that's required communities having the,
Or the steering committee meetings public?
They have not been.
Are they going to be?
I don't know that we're gonna have.
Or you want to?
The idea to get the steering committee together, was to get this information together,
So we can have these conversations.
that was the whole idea.
If all the information that we want to see out. More than likely.
Yep, yep.
Because we're gonna. Do something.
Yep. And I'll be feeding all the information to them to post on their website. Let's go here, back here, and then over there.
So the kind of feedback on what the stuff. So if the steering committee doesn't exist anymore, when you're saying we are doing this work, we is township president.
And we've done working with community planning. And, you know, because what are the other options? The night of this, so you.
I just wanted to know who it is.
Zoning.
Zoning commissioner. Right.
He is, yeah.
They're in our scope of work to have additional ones. Have I put them on the calendar? No, but they're. Probably, the next one would be in the next couple of months, and then after that, I will have to just see like where we are in the process.
And the 12 month.
Right. Yeah.
So is the next follow on gonna be something? I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, really, it all, like, hearing what the concerns are of the community tonight helps us decide how we plan that next one. So hearing that communications is an issue helps us understand, what do we focus on with that? Hearing that the 37 corridor is an issue with potentially coming up that southern side, that is something that we need to, make sure we're addressing. So part of tonight is to get the feedback so that we can do those next steps and plan for the next one.
You are right.
Yes, yes, yes.
Is it currently, I see there was survey at 37 and county line, will there be a roundabout there actually?
So, I just came from a transportation meeting today. They are doing, a number of different, improvements along County Line Road. So the surveying work is, they're out doing the survey work for all of the different stuff that the Licking County Transportation Improvement District is doing. So the roundabout at County Line Road and 37. Yes, County Line Road and 37.
That's where they're creeping up really fine.
The new areas for white east and where you may have. Political.
I would say about, there was a meeting in Johnstown about their project. You know, is there an effort to try to let those of us about that? Who you guys, right now, it's a stakeholder meeting.
Yeah, it's not a public meeting.
If there were a public meeting, those could be. If not,
We will get all that stuff come from it. But it's a problem. Absolutely.
And if you want to get with me, with your address, when the Licking County Transportation Improvement District was saying, if there are people out there asking about the survey work, to get them the information that they can get more information video. I don't know the time frame. Yeah. I'm not saying they don't know, I don't know.
what's it called? What's this one? Summer house.
Yes.
Something take home. All options.
Yeah, so I would say, if you can, provide us with any feedback on what you heard tonight, and, you know, if you wanna email us, I can give you my card. And then what we will do is assess what we're hearing over the last meeting and this meeting, so the 3 o'clock meeting and this meeting, and any emails that we get. And, like I said, in the next couple of months, be back in front of you of saying this is what we heard.
So the 1,000 acres of Van Ness Township is all about tax. And there was a discussion that we had, I talking to them about, which is planning on them, that we don't have any plans to zone on right now. How many of you driven up 37 and seen that sign there that says they're having hearings on that stuff? That's what we in Delaware, Google, where, so when we talk partnership, we have to be very careful. And so I made a couple of notes. It's been an education session tonight. We got a couple of those that are kind of outside. And we're right from this is also probably one of the biggest meetings we've ever had. Outside traffic. But I'd like to share this. So today, if you were getting trash from us, you pay more than $56 a month. You call around or report. You need to make a call to Rumpke and tell them you're not getting down. I talk to people paying 100. So we fought with Rumpke and negotiated that rate. They're not our only people who pick up trash. But we could dictate. We didn't want to dictate. People decide what they want, but they came in with a very. You're not getting that today. Take that on the phone. Rumpke, I think it's 53 or 50. See, you're getting another. When we talk about parks, the metro, rear, Iowa, rear, on Route 3, I don't know if you know this, purchased 450. That's gonna be a huge park over there. I think there's gonna be a bridge at some point for Route 3. But we haven't seen any plans the layout to look like that. But when the village comes to us, hey, we want you part of our recreation. We've got a big recreation, 458. We do not need to deferring any money. And so, yes. It's actually between 6 and 5 and Sunday. Are they building the new house on the right side? Yeah. Did you know that? Just over. Right there.
I will maybe.
Well, Hartford.
Yeah.
It's on the other side.
It's nice to have that path, but there's no.
Well, that's, you weren't 50 acres. Yeah, exactly. They're recording based on the county.
Yes, there is.
The other thing I like to mention is I'm very passionate about fire department. I spent 22 years on fire department. Just back and left. Everybody knows that. What I want to make sure that you understand, you know, fire letting is just fact. The new station out street. Not equipment, not people, so built. The other point I like to make, the EMS, Delaware County, the squad, and that squad can call 911, the squad comes to your house. That squad is funded by the Delaware County State. Not your tax dollars, it is your tax dollars, but people are talking about flares or whatever throughout the county, that money funds the EMS side. PMG is fire and rescue and first responder. I'll tell you today that 80% of their runs all on that spot. So just heads up, it's just a little bit of education. I'm not saying what good or bad, but the levy did pass. They're down the road. There's some discussions about possibly putting the station somewhere in Trenton Township. But what just happened is,
Has there ever been any discussion of bringing that part?
well, they all run the huge way in.
Right.
So when you say partner, so again, I spent 22 years with this, so everybody support there. So, but by going out there, 1,500 runs a year, but the station out there.
Well, I was just saying, it's not very convenient role, and we're that way, you know. We get left.
Well, exactly why we, on ESTG, you try to have a voice. That's what we're talking about. Here, community. They get busy around. Wow. So I want to hit the trail with the fire, the annexation, sure that.
Yeah.
Go to the website, June 22nd, township trash. Run that. What we do is we put trash dumpster up, we put steel dumpster up, trailer, trash truck, so we sort out the steel, fire. If you say that you're right on hold, that's on. Any questions? Dick, this is the first update we had to delegate Dick to the car.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure. I am literally.
Sure.